Olit oikeassa tosta valosta. Hei, lämpimästi tervetuloa, and we will switch to English as English is the language for our event today. I wish to warmly welcome everybody to our event today that focuses on the cultural goal for the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals in the post-2030 framework, and especially the roles of cities and municipalities in achieving that goal. My name is Silvia Modig, and I have the honor of hosting tonight's event, and I'm a member of the Helsinki City Council and the Helsinki City Board, and also a member of KULTA board. I am one of those who are unable to say no when an opportunity presents itself. And today's event is organized by KULTA ry and the Finnish Folk Music Institute in collaboration with the Prime Minister's Office and the Arts Promotion Center. And we have an excellent program ahead of us, and I'm really happy to see all of you here and also those participating through our online possibility. Warmly welcome to this important discussion. And to kick off our excellent program, I want to give the floor to Antti Huntus, Head of Unit from the Arts Promotion Center. Antti, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Silvia, and you just took half of my opening words with your warm welcoming. But good afternoon from my behalf. It's my great pleasure to open this seminar and to welcome you all to this event, especially our international guests and also guests online. This occasion is a joint production, like Silvia said, of the Finnish National Commission on Sustainable Development and the Arts Promotion Center and KULTA and Finnish Folk Music Institute. So I want to thank you, my dear partners, for arranging this occasion. This seminar is, depending on how you count, either the first or the second event in a series of gatherings where the goal is to create a sustainable roadmap for the Finnish arts and cultural sector. I think we all had high expectations for the Mondiacult event or the World Conference in this autumn for the Cultural Goal campaign. I would say that this hope is still alive and well, so this is how I see it. But of course the process has been really slow. We will hear today how the campaign is evolving, and especially is there something that we can do on a national level or on a local level. On the other hand, if the changes are slow in a big scale, we can always focus a little bit on a little smaller scale and more effective scale. And today we are concentrating and focusing on cities and municipalities. We can all draw inspiration from each other's work and examples around the world. And hopefully this inspiration leads us to new ideas and steps within our own organizations. I think that we all share the same basic idea and philosophy. Culture faces its own sustainable challenges, but on the other hand, culture also holds the key to solve all the other sustainable challenges. And when I say this, I also understand the other side of the issue, that the cultural factors can sometimes even stop or lock the development process. That is something that we should all be aware of and considering. But with these small and short words, I wish you an inspiring and productive day in today's seminar. Welcome.
Kiitos, thank you, Antti. And now we have our international guests who has promised to give us a keynote speech. Yves Zimmermann, project director for the 2030 Agenda, City and Eurometropolis, as it is pronounced in Finnish, Eurometropolis of Strasbourg. Please, Yves, the floor is yours. You can choose your favorite color. Green, perfect.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm very, very pleased to be here. It's not the first time in Finland, but second time. I was first time in 5 years ago in Tampere. Very, very great city also. So yeah, I will share with you some insights from the city of Strasbourg, and but be very, very humble. You know, we are a medium-sized city. We are trying to be pioneering in some fields, but the most important is probably peer-to-peer learning with other cities. And I was previously head of the team to coordinate application for Strasbourg for being European Green Capital. That's why green. And we have a political team, also ecological team, Greens, since 2020, 5 years ago. And we will have next March local election also. So probably the team will change, but I stay. So this, I hope, being able to continue to this important work. So I will share with you what we have done in Strasbourg and what we aim to do for the future also. So this is one of the most important place in Strasbourg with the tram, as you can see here. And we had the 17 goal, and over there you will see the 18 goal for culture. This is a picture from the city of Tallinn. I have to thank city of Tallinn also. Here Strasbourg, you may know Strasbourg is a French city, the 7th largest city in France, situated near the German border. As you can see here, you have the bridge, Rhine Bridge, and cycling bridge. This is a cycle path bridge over the Rhine, and we have the tram who links the city center from Strasbourg to the city center of Kiel, the next the German city next by. Very, very symbolic for the Franco-German friendship. We have the famous Notre Dame Cathedral in Strasbourg, the highest building of the medieval centuries, still today. And we host also the European Parliament. We had an elected member of the European Parliament here, and the one seat of the European Parliament, because we struggle with Brussels to keep the Parliament in Strasbourg, but the real seat, official seat, is in Strasbourg. Two bodies. The city of Strasbourg and the metropole area with 500,000 inhabitants on 33 municipalities. I show you here, this is very, very important, because our journey to ecological transformation began with heritage, cultural heritage, with the city center, with the cathedral. In the 80s, the cathedral was fully black because of air pollution. And as the city center was classified by UNESCO, World Heritage Site, the cathedral was cleaned, and most of the cars were banned from the city center, and it changed everything. More public spaces, more green spaces, more living spaces for the citizens to walk and to cycle. This was very, very important. And the second phase was the Neustadt, which is the German part of the city built by the Germans in between 1970 and the First War. So this was the second part of the World Heritage classification. So we here, yeah. When we started with SDGs, we started by localizing. This is the first step. It's not a top-down approach. It's really a bottom-up approach. We have done this work with an approach by budgeting. We try to look where the budget goes, and where the budget goes, it goes to 125 targets out of 169, and different things were missing, different topics were missing. Public security was missing, noise, physical activities and sport were missing. The European influence from Strasbourg, it's very important, the European model, the European model for democracy and society that we live in Strasbourg has to be also fostered and promoted outside of Strasbourg. It's European influence. And active mobility, when you know probably all the targets of the SDGs, and you may have noticed that sport is not mentioned in the SDGs, and active mobility neither. There's no mention for walking, for cycling, and this is missing. So we introduced this because it was important for Strasbourg, but also important for other cities worldwide. So, and effectively, we introduced the 18th goal for culture, because culture was not mentioned as far as we are looking for the importance of culture in our city. 20% of our budget goes to culture, so 20% couldn't be let aside so easily. So, and our aim was to build something to have a governance tool to oversee every topics and to look for articulating everything in an integrated governance of sustainability. So here you have the link between the political strategy and the goals. You have on the left the three political pillars: democracy, social transformation, ecological and economical transformation. The most important one for our elected ecological team is ecological and economical transformation, which has been split into three directions: lower the carbon emissions, green. This is attenuation, mitigation of carbon. Urban green recovery is adaptation, and cooperative development is local economy, self-sufficiency economy. And the other, and you can see for each pathway, we have linked different SDGs. Some of the SDGs are in 2 or 3 pathways, just because they are cross-cutting SDGs, but most are linked to one pathway. And as you can see, the cultural goal is on the first pathway for universal right, because we are used to work on cultural rights, and it's really key to fight against inequalities, to fight against poverties, for other equalities, gender equality, for example, peace and justice as well. So here we have released last year VLR. You know VLR, Voluntary Local Review. This is a state of play, a situation, diagnostic of the situation, an evaluation from the period of 2015 to 2030, the agenda time. So, and we have evaluated our policies, about 148 topics, on in which way they are on the right path, on track to be achieved in 2030 or not. And this is quite positive, because, as you can see, we have 35% of the topics who are on the right path, on the right track to be achieved in 2030, and only 14% here who are still remaining in difficulties, and significant progress is needed. So at global level, it's quite the opposite. Only 17% are on track. and 38% are in difficulties. So, and as you can see, we also evaluated 18 schools, and this is a little bit balanced. Some of the topics are still needing a lot of better energy, better involvement. Still a lot to do in culture also. And in grey you have targets or topics who couldn't be evaluated because it's not probably not feasible, but not also pertinent to be evaluated. Some of the topics just don't need to be evaluated. So here we worked on SDGs since 2017. Okay, and during these times, with peer learning and exchange and experimentation, we were lacking on methodology, and because SDGs are delivered without any methodology, and we choose to identify not quite a methodology, but a key principle to use the SDGs on the ground. And here you have 5 principles for governance for SDGs. The first one is opening opportunity to dialogue, co-constructing, aligning, committing. This means it's a political issue. We have to talk together. That's what we are doing here. We have to commit together, we have to align, we have to engage. Okay. The second one is monitoring. It's very important because what you monitor, you change. If you have indicators, you choose to act on these indicators and to change. Monitoring is also a real legitimacy for science. This is very important, the link with science. The third one is increasing your impact, to taking action wherever it's possible. Everybody has to do his own work, but also to reflect on in which way we could have impact, a broader impact on other topics. You work on energy when you are an enterprise of the fund for energy, but if you can also work on gender equality, for example, it's a case in one of our enterprise in Strasbourg. You have to, but you must have the most impact possible in what you are doing, project you are developing. So the fourth one is developing global awareness to reducing spillover effect. What we do has always an impact elsewhere, in the next region, at national level, at European level, or at international level. You know that you know Nutella probably. When you eat Nutella, you're participating to deforestation in Asia or somewhere. It's the same when you use your smartphone. When you buy a new one, you have an impact on soil pollution in Chile, for example, resource scarcity in Africa, and so on. Everything you do has an impact elsewhere. You cannot just evaluate what the impact on your territory. And the fifth one is what we are here, that we have to giving meaning, rediscovering essential core values to creating consensus. When we are talking together, we have to do some trade-offs. We have to choose, sometimes to renounce at some expenses, and this is why we have to choose what is essential and what can be let aside. This is what we need to have a cultural approach of our societies. Okay, these are the principle, and the culture is on the fifth one. But the road for a goal. I know Jordi Pasquale is also online probably. He's the main one who will explain how the road is long, since 2013, and we are still on track. We must move on to convince, and to convince we need to have advocacy through stakeholders' ownership. We have to demonstrate that it works. It has its really a strong value to have the culture actors involved in the sustainable transformation. There is a ready-made goal which has been delivered in Mondiacult in last October. With indicators, we have to choose indicators. We have to demonstrate that we can evaluate what the action of culture, set action plans also. And in 2027, there will be the next General Secretary of the United Nations, and he will be in charge of beginning new negotiation for the next agenda, if there is a next agenda, because this is not already acted. So, beginning of the renegotiation, and we have to be strong and to demonstrate that it's very, very useful. That's what we are going to do. So, advocacy, this is a long time. We were in Strasbourg involved with UCLG, with UNESCO, in Dublin, in Barcelona last time. I don't have no. Okay. Here you have the different kind of expression, official expression of the World Urban Forum, Katowice, UCLG in declaration in July 2024, the Pact of the Future, and Mondiacult. And each time you can see, there is no, okay. You can see, the first time it was said its culture is an integral part of the solution. Part of the solution. In 2024, culture is an integral component of sustainable development. It's an important enabler, facilitating the things, going faster. The Pact of the Future also declared that culture as well as sport, therefore, are important enabler for sustainable development. And the last one in Mondiacult this year, we recognize that in a future development framework, we don't know if there will be a SDG, but future development framework, culture should be considered as an independent goal on its own right. So this is established, but whatever the framework will be, culture has to be part of the solution for sustainability. And for us, we had a strong start as World Book Capital last year, 2024, UNESCO label. Our application has mentioned 5 pathways, as you can see here. And the fourth one, Strasbourg, ville émancipatrice écologique, Strasbourg as resilient, socially and ecologically committed city, was quite a criteria which has decided the jury to labelize Strasbourg, to choose Strasbourg for being European World Book Capital 2024. Because we built the link, the bridge with sustainability and culture and book reading. One of our key message was to bring local actors, NGOs, to act and to get involved in climate issues. So we set up some climate classes to accelerate ecological transformation. This was very, very key, and cultural actors were very interested by better understanding what they can do to decrease their impact on climate. Training, yes, results more than 150 professionals from different organizations. So, very important, but I would say not enough. Not enough. It's still ongoing year after year. Okay, but after World Book Capital, you know, it was very important event, and we invited the citizens of Strasbourg to take action during this year, and we had about 1,500 different actions during the year. The first 240 actions were evaluated as they have their impact, one action, one impact, on which goal. And as you can see, most of the actions are on cultural actions, but also you can see the impact on 15 SDGs, as you can see, out of the 6 water and sanitation, the 7 energy, there was no action, and oceans life, maritime life. But every other goal was impacted by cultural actors and their actions. So it's very important to see that most of them are on education, on economy, inequalities, resilient cities, peace and justice, or partnerships. And it was not said before, but we discovered this. That means that when you bring actors, cultural actors, to act, and when you evaluate what they are the fields they are addressing, you see that culture is everywhere. So you have impact on everything, quite everything. It's very interesting to see. So, cultural goal also, and that's what we learned from the World Book Capital year. This is our VLR, Voluntary Local Review. When you look at the VLR, you evaluate the situation, but also, as a city, we are not alone to act. We must involve every stakeholder, multi-stakeholders on the right side, and multi-level stakeholder. You have here City of Strasbourg, Eurometropoles, both institutional level, the département, which is what you call probably a county, the region, the state, and cross-border dimension. Sometimes we are working also with the Germans. That's normal. That's multi-level approach. Multi-stakeholders. You have cooperation, consular bodies, cooperation, agriculture, farmers, traders, association, universities, businesses, citizens, and other international associations at international level, because it's a World Book Capital. But it's important to have everybody get involved in this year. But this partnership, this committee will remain over the years, probably not on the same name, but it has proved the positive impact of bringing everybody together to work together. It's important. So we have here such a governance framework for the future, for the action. Here you have the results of the VLR considering culture. As you can see, 2 green, 2 red, 2 orange, 3 orange, but 9 topics evaluated here out of on the VLR here. 3 on the first target, one on the second target, one on the third target, 2, 3 on the fourth target. Not every target is evaluated, but 6 different targets are addressed. Out of 10, we have 2 different targets evaluated through indicators only. This is crucial. We are lacking on indicators here, and the indicators chosen were not really efficient or meaningful. So we have to work on choosing better indicators. Other evaluations were made under expert assessment, and that's all. Okay? So, indicators, this shows that we are addressing most of the targets of the draft cultural goal, but it's difficult to evaluate, really difficult. But the draft goal proposed some new targets, and you have to refer to the draft goal by the technical report of UCLG, which was released in Mondiacult. We have to use other existing framework also of indicators. I propose to use, for example, the happiness index. Happiness index, because it has a long existence at UN level, and for example, there is an indicator in the happiness index evaluating the time you used by having lunch or dinner with your family or with your friends, and the time you spend just by having this eating together. This is it's a cultural aspect. We are used to spend times at the table, at a restaurant or at home. This is not the case everywhere. In United States, for example, this is not the case, or even in Asia. So this is could be also a good resource of indicators. And there is another UN initiative that is called time use. Time use is the way to better organize the times of the city for a more efficient city, to better balance the time between the time you need to drive your kids to the school and the time you need to go for work. So, but time use is also the question of the rhythm of your life and the time you spend at work or at home, the balance between home and working. So, but evaluation is always a tricky question, shouldn't be probably decisive on its own, I think, because indicators sometimes evaluate things at the moment, annually or monthly, and impact, when you try to evaluate impact for culture, it's not immediate. Sometimes it takes years to have a kid reading, more used to read than it comes when you grow older. Okay, this shows that indicators are needed, but you have to choose them really carefully. But it's mandatory for this goal to be legitimate at international level. Okay, we can discuss. This is very important. In Strasbourg, we are supporting cultural rights since 20 years, more than 20 years probably, and this is one of our most important political commitment, and it was the key message we tried to send to the people during World Book Capital last year, and the way to increase the citizens' participation also in this year. And culture. I don't know if you're familiar with cultural rights. I tried to analyze the draft goal with the cultural rights. On the left side, you have the different targets of the cultural goal, and on the right side, you have the cultural rights. And as you can see, even though cultural rights are mentioned in the first target here of the goal, cultural rights are also impacting the other targets. Some of them, not all the targets, but 7 targets on 10. But one of the key, one of the main topic of cultural right, because it's the first one, the identity, cultivating oneself in relations to other. The identity is not mentioned in the goal, in the targets. So that shows that cultural rights are really important for the culture goal, covering most of the questions, but also opening another question for the culture goal on identity, because identity is probably the question which is more opening the question to anthropological approach, social approach, and not only cultural approach. Yeah. And last column, you have also the impact on other SDGs from cultural rights. And the cultural rights here, you have the impact of on the SDGs. As you can see, 8 SDGs are addressed by cultural rights. Here, poverty, education, economy, infrastructure, inequalities, citizen communities, peace and justice, partnerships. And most of the impacts are on only 4: education, inequalities, communities, and peace and justice. This means that cultural rights are a good way of going forward to address the inequalities in the society, but are not really are only working on an individual aspect, not on a social aspect. And this is probably the question we have to this is the added value of cultural goal. It's more the society who is at stake. Yeah, missing point for cultural rights, gender equality, production and consumption responsible. So, good question for the future. Okay, I come to my conclusion. Here you can see why the meaningful positive the impact of a culture next culture goal is to lead to open the mind, not only for cultural actors, but as an anthropological approach. It's more a question of the society, the values we are sharing together. And here I have listed 5 cultural paths to reducing contradiction in the world, because SDGs are often said that it doesn't work because they are contradictory. You cannot achieve climate issues and also economical growth. This is oxymoron. This is contradictory. That's why a lot of people in France, for example, are saying SDGs, this is shit, this means nothing. No, this is real, the real quality of the SDGs. They are gathering the contradiction of our world. We are living in these contradictions. We are all having smartphone, Swedish stuff at home, Chinese or Japanese cars. Or we are all interdependent. We are all international living. So, and we are all living in contradiction, and we have to, and this is the added value of SDG, this is the unique tool to reduce the contradiction in the world. So, and culture brings us to reduce this contradiction, because with cultural rights we are reducing social, cultural inequalities, taking every kind of people as they are. And the need for the future is probably also to reconnect with territories. A lot of citizens are struggling to defend nature against highways, for example, through the Alps or through the Pyrenees in France, and mobilizing to give the nature its rights. And this is very, very interesting. It's a link from the people with their territories. The third one, I told you about the question of the time and the rhythm of our lives. We have to slow down the pace of our collectively and individually. Probably we have to increase our consciousness of our living, and not like a hamster in its wheel. It's not. We have to really to decrease our rhythm of our life, to slow down. So the fourth one, just remember also that some of our cultural tradition, spiritual practices, and ancestral knowledge of indigenous people, or the African Ubuntu culture, is probably also has it's very important to keep in mind, and probably it gives us new solutions for the future, for the living in the next situation we have to face. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Chinese speaking.
So cultural tradition are key, and it's also linked probably with territories. And you can also work on reducing violence, peaceful lives, dialogue between peoples are even more needed now than ever, because battles, wars are coming in front of us for access to resources, because of population displacement, because of some of the territories are going to be uninhabitable, unlivable. So reducing violence is also a new key of new way to build cohesion, social cohesion. Okay, probably. And yes, I just finished with one quote. A French astrophysician who said he's very, very involved in climate change, climate debate, and he used to say, working on beauty is more urgent and radical than balancing our carbon footprint. So that's why we are here. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Yves, so much. That was truly inspiring, so much for us to learn in Finland and as a city also in Helsinki. Thank you so much for your words. We will be hearing more from you in the panel in just a few moments. Thank you so much for being with us. I had the pleasure of visiting Strasbourg several times as I was a member of the European Parliament, and it is a beautiful city, and it's so interesting to see through what work you have been able to make it such a vibrant and welcoming city as it is. Next, we have an intervention online, an international invention also, to give us an international angle for the Cultural Goal campaign. So, Jordi Pascal, Assistant Secretary General for Knowledge Co-creation from United Cities and Local Governments. Do we have Jordi online? Yes, we seem to be. Please, Jordi, if you can hear me, the floor is yours.
Kiitos. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be with you today. I'm going to be a bit brief. I will develop all what I have promised to Matti. I must say I am impressed by the work coordinated by Yves in Strasbourg. I will try to complement the exemplary work by Yves and his team in Strasbourg, giving first an introduction to what the organization that I represent, UCLG, has been doing since its birth in 2004 at the crossroads between cultural rights and sustainable development. Second, I will explain the history of the Culture 2030 Goal campaign and also some keys to action in the next months and years. As Yves said, there is uncertainty on the shape and even in the existence of a post-2030 development agenda. But we will shape the road while walking. And it is, I believe, it is our duty to try to influence the shape and the width and the depth of this road as soon as possible. So we have the right, the duty to imagine how this post-2030 agenda would look like. I have prepared a tiny presentation. I will share the screen with you. Coming my presentation, sorry for that. All right. Can you see the presentation right now? Can you confirm that this is okay? I assume that yes. Okay. Let me devote the first 5 minutes to introduce what we do, what we are. UCLG is the World Organization of Cities, headquarters in Barcelona, young organization, born in 2004. But the movement, the municipalist movement, has at least 1 century of history. The municipalist movement that tries to send a very clear message: democracy, development, and participation of people living in a place should be perfectly aligned. That is the principle of subsidiarity. It is also the principle of leaving no one behind, and the principle of connecting, reconnecting, and connecting again citizens with power. Since 2004, UCLG has defended that we human beings, a place, neighborhood, district, city, region, nation, the humanity as a whole cannot be understood unless the culture dimension, pillar, sphere, driver, component of sustainable development is explicit and operational. The paradigm of the triangle does not explain reality anymore. Not human reality, not planetary reality, not any subdivision of the planetary reality. Is the square image perfect? No, it is not, but it is much better. It helps us understand better the reality. It helps us transforming the reality so that all people living in a place, also the new generations, can create, control, decide their resources, their capabilities to widen their freedoms to achieve full human dignity. We have been working since 2004 with a range of declarations. We call it our founding documents, the Agenda 21 for Culture, the document Culture, Fourth Pillar of Sustainable Development, the Culture 21 Actions, and the Rome Charter. I will not stop here. You will see that in our document in 2015, we listed 9 commitments with 100 actions, giving result to radars like this one, in which this is the result of self-evaluation workshops in cities all around the world on strengths and weaknesses, felt strengths and weaknesses of cities on cultural rights and the several dimensions that relate cultural rights to sustainable development. And we have worked with the tag of pilot cities and the tag of leading cities. This frame has now been renewed with the new frame we have approved in 2025, which is the Culture 21 Plus with 6 axes: rights, communities, prosperity, territories, nature, governance. So it is an improvement of what we have been doing since 2004 in a more operational way, in a more modular way, so that we can serve a small neighborhood as well as a big metropolis, a region as well as an intermediary city. And the process is similar to what we have been doing in the last years, with self-evaluation exercises and with radars like this one, which is a very recent one we held in Guadalajara, Mexico. Since the birth of the Sustainable Development Goals, we were worried, of course, for the non-existence of a culture goal. What we did is we published a guide in 2017, Culture in the Sustainable Development Goals, that went goal per goal, analyzing how culture is relevant and what cities can do. What we also did is we, in our website of good practices, our ops, with more than 400 good practices, we indexed all the good practices according to the SDGs. And many of them come from our award footnote. We launched the 7th edition of our award, and we will welcome candidacies from cities that are implementing cultural rights with a care perspective and with a gender equality perspective. And also another footnote, besides our award, we also organize a summit every 2 years, and Eve mentioned the summit in Dublin, and certainly the last one that happened in Barcelona in September this year, end of September this year, the days before Mondiacult. And we have also analyzed the SDGs from a critical perspective. In this report in 2023, this is again similar to the local work of Yves and his team in Strasbourg. We used the methodology of this, say, qualitative comparison of, you have in green and in red the cultural situations, policies, programs. We did not use artificial intelligence to create this graph. It was human-made, and we summarized all our heritage of good practices, the work with our pilot and leading cities, and we came to around 150 summary situations. Most of them you can see in green above the X charter, the X axis, in several degrees, shades of green, support the local achievement of the SDGs. But below the X axis, you have in red, in 3 grades of red, situations, policies that go against the achievement of the SDGs. And this exercise was important for us because the still predominant understanding of culture as positive, inherently positive to development, is not true. The narratives that, the cultural narratives that support war are not in favor of the achievement of the SDGs. The damages and the violence against the souls and the bodies of women that happen in still in places all around the world are not in favor of the achievement of the SDGs. The huge inequalities, economic inequalities in, again, many cities all around the world do not go in favor of the achievement of the right of everyone to participate in cultural life, and therefore against the achievement of the SDGs. You can have a look to this report. This the critical view on the SDGs, our guide, our good practices, was held in parallel to our advocacy on the culture goal. And I'm going to focus the next 6-7 minutes in the culture goal. In 2013, in May 2013, this is 12 years ago, UN agencies were preparing the post-2015 development agenda, and several NGOs, civil society organizations, we were called to attend a meeting in Hangzhou, China. We were convened by UNESCO. With surprise, the advocacy of those NGOs, including UCLG, the World Organization of Cities, was successful. And the final declaration of the Hangzhou conference, it states, participants in this conference, officially convened by UNESCO, wish to have a culture goal in the post-2015, because this is the natural solution to place culture at the center of development. 1 month after this statement, this promise by UNESCO and by the organizer, was not followed in the negotiations in New York that were analyzing social inclusion, sports, education, and culture in the post-2015 development agenda. The conclusion of that June 2013 exploration of culture in the SDGs was the following. Culture is not globable. Culture is not goalable. That was a shock for the NGOs that were present in the negotiations. For the International Federation of Coalition for Cultural Diversity, Culture Action Europe, you are familiar with it, with IFACA, certainly UCLG, IFLA, the International Federation of Libraries, ICOMOS. 40 years after the most successful UN convention, the Convention on World Heritage, very important people in New York, after 40 years of the most successful UN convention, say that culture is not global and not goalable, that's a huge failure of all the system. We decided not to accept that defeat because it was a clear defeat. We decided to publish a culture goal document. And the first one was released in September 2013. That exercise, we knew it was not going to impact the negotiations. We knew that the negotiations would not accept representatives from the cultural sector. The UNESCO team at that point didn't believe in the importance of a culture goal. Okay, so we wrote that document for our children and grandchildren, for our members, so that they could understand we are doing our work. The conditions do not exist for our success. The 4 documents you have on the screen are the results of the work of the campaign between September 2013 and September 2015. The day after the approval of the SDGs, we released a communique. We said culture in the SDG outcome document, progress made, but important steps remain ahead. Important that remain ahead are not a surprise. Are the practical marginal space for culture in the reporting of United Nations member states in the high-level political forum. As early as in 2019, we released a report, the campaign released a report on how the high-level political forums were including how the high-level political forums and the reports written by member states. Perhaps let me give a little bit more frame to that statement. The SDGs were approved in 2015, and a body was created to monitor the achievement of the SDGs. This is the high-level political forum. It meets every month of July in New York. And before weeks before of the meeting, a number of states have to report progress, not on all the SDGs. Not all countries report every year. So you have a periodical system of reporting. Some SDGs are reported 1 year, other SDGs are reported the next year, etc. So the campaign took the first 4 years. All the SDGs had been reported, and we analyzed how UN member states were including culture in those reports. The answer was quite poorly. But now we have the second wave, the second cycle of reporting. And here, not a surprise, there is more evidence that states, UN member states, understand better how culture they have realized the fact that the consideration of cultural actors and cultural factors is a precondition to achieve the SDGs. In 2022, we did a step forward, also mentioned by Eve. The campaign was called for the Mondiacult 2022 to be held in Mexico City. In February that year, we decided to write another culture goal document so that it became a way to influence the shape of the Mondiacult 2022 program. And we explicitly said to the UNESCO officials that the campaign was going to publish that report. We did it in September 2022, the first ever, the 21st century Mondiacult included our presentation of a culture goal, and the final statement of Mondiacult, the final document, the official document of Mondiacult, also included an interesting wording on the importance of having a culture goal in the post 2030. The exercise was repeated in Mondiacult 2025 with a further step. Instead of just listing one goal and 10 targets, we added all kind of indicators under each one of the targets. This is what the culture goal published in September 2025. You can download this document in English, French, Catalan, Spanish from our website. I will just read the 10 mention the content of the 10 targets. I will not go on the indicators, but the targets: 1, on cultural rights, especially for vulnerable people, but in general, cultural rights. 2nd, culture of peace and non-violence. 3rd, heritage. 4th, diversity of cultural expressions. 5th, the economic and social rights of artists and cultural professionals. 6th, mobility of professionals and goods and services. 7th, the indigenous peoples. 8th, the relation between the climate challenge, emergence, and the need to have a regenerative approach with culture at the center on climate action. And then A and B, 2 instrumental targets. The first one, target A, on cultural institutions and the need that there is a solid cultural infrastructure everywhere, and B, the cross-cutting nature of culture in the achievement of other goals. This is the proposal that we released in the Civil Society Forum prior to Mondiacult 2025, hosted by UCLG in Barcelona in the UCLG Culture Summit. This is the picture of that moment. We also published in September 2025 a small infography that explains why culture is important, and we published also a thick report, the analytical report on the culture goal, targets, and indicators. So if you want to have a look why we selected the indicators that we did, you can have a look to this report, also available for free, of course, in our website. Now, what's next? The challenge, we believe, is now making the culture goal a reality before 2030. Trying to make the feasibility of the culture goal so evident in 2027 that nobody can say in 2027, when the high-level political forum will open the negotiations for the post-2030, making the culture goal so evident that nobody could say it is not feasible because we don't have indicators. It is not feasible because countries do not believe. We want to enter in that negotiation with the evidence that the culture goal is already a reality. And to make it happen, the important step here is voluntary adoption. What we are doing in the campaign for next year is establishing a strong contact with those countries that have to report in 2026 and 2027 on various goals to the high-level political forum, and ask them to include a chapter in their report related to SDG 18 culture. This is politically, it needs courage. It needs exactly the same courage that Strasbourg had when it was decided by the leaders of Strasbourg to report the voluntary local review, including new targets and including a new goal. So it just needs courage, political courage, but it is a political courage that is coherent to the voices we heard in Mondiacult 2025. The vast majority of countries in the corridors, in the negotiations, to which, by the way, we are not accepted. UNESCO still keeps the negotiation committee of the final declaration among only member states, no NGOs, no local governments invited. What we hear in the corridors is there is a vast majority of countries that believe, a large majority of ministers for culture, let me correct, that are in favor of a culture goal. All right, let's make it coherent. We are asking ministers for culture to contact their peers in the Agenda 2030, in the public national affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, when the report of that country is prepared between February and April next year, do include a chapter on culture. Do it as you wish. If you want to have the Culture 2030 goal campaign 10 targets, that's perfect. If you prefer it to explain it in your own ways, why not? If you explain it with the frame of the Culture 2030 goal campaign, if you need our support to write that chapter, we are ready to provide that support, because there is a critical mass of experts that today can easily work, national experts that can easily work to write a 10-page, a 12-page report on culture as an SDG for any country around the world. And some of the leaders, Greece, Kenya, Brazil, Mexico, they are Ireland. They will do it. We are quite sure that this voluntary adoption is going to happen. Besides, certainly we are ready to improve the Culture 2030 goal version of the proposal of the culture goal. We need to discuss more in depth whether the proposal is too focusing on cultural rights. Some people have written to us, they say this is too much cultural rights, and this is nice. Some other people have written saying cultural rights are not perfectly shaped in the document of the campaign. We may wish also to improve this connection between regenerative development and culture. There are also some voices saying the artistic community needs more clarity in the targets and the indicators. I think that this is something the campaign has to do to improve the the document. And certainly what we are going to try to do in UCLG is to highlight Strasbourg as a key, as an example of how a city can use that frame in local analysis, in local implementation of local development plans. It goes without saying that any effort to connect the culture goal with national authorities in Finland would be more than welcome. And with this, I stay silent. Thank you very much. Kiitos.
Thank you, Jordi. Thank you very much for your intervention. And next we will hear the Finnish national angle to the Cultural Goal campaign from Matti Hakamäki, Director for the Finnish Folk Music Institute. Please. And we have agreed that you will speak as long as I go to the toilet fast.
I will pick my color first, yes. Okay, thank you, Jordi. Thank you very much, and thank you, Yves, for this, what we already heard. It's a great pleasure being here. So I'm director of Finnish Folk Music Institute, and I had the honor of working with this Culture Goal campaign Finland, which is coordinated by KULTA ry. And we were the Finnish Folk Music Institute. We were the initiator of the campaign, mainly because we have been working a lot with the UNESCO 2003 convention. We are accredited NGO for the 2003 convention, and also I'm in the board of the ICH NGO Forum, which is kind of the umbrella organization for all the 264 accredited NGOs. So actually from that kind of world, we have also seen that, okay, this culture campaign, this SDG for culture is very essential, and then also had some networks to give to the work in Finland. I will see if I can. Yes. So the campaign in Finland, it was launched 24, and actually the idea was to copy everything that has been done with the international campaign that Jordi was telling about, and implement it in a national environment. Really work with the grassroots communities, with the civil sector especially, and then as the campaign went on and the work was done and maybe some understanding what was achieved, then also we were quite happy to kind of see that this approach is very, very needed, because with the tactical situation of today, what we need some proof, some data that culture is goalable, as Jordi said, and how communities, theaters, cultural actors, municipalities, cities, how we can use the culture goal to have these kind of Strasbourg examples, but not only cities, but really from very, very many different levels, so that we can, in 27, we can really say that, okay, here's the data, it is essential, we cannot survive without it. So what we have done with the campaign, we have translated the documents, also what Jordi was telling about, to see kind of it in a practical way how it looks in Finnish and Swedish. Seminars, blogs, presentations, just awareness raising actually about the topic. It is not very easy to understand or relate to in your everyday life, even though you work in the culture sector. So it really needs a little bit like a paradigm changes in your thinking. So this way we have also tried to work in a kind of a pedagogical or educational way in our awareness raising actions and activities. So many workshops with many different levels of organizations and people. Then also this autumn, the 25 Mondiacult, the new draft goal was launched. So at the same time as it was launched, or was it the next Monday, we also translated it in and published it in Swedish and Finnish. So why is the cultural goal essential? Why do we need it? So first of all, it is very evident that culture sector itself cannot engage fully in sustainability without the culture goal. And this also, the international campaign has a lot of evidence of this. And you can also imagine about your own work with your theater or orchestra, that without the goal, okay, it's possible to do it without the goal, but it would be much easier if we would have had the SDG 18 from the beginning. Second one is very essential. Culture in the world works in silos. We need one place where what brings together all the culture thinking, cultural activity globally. We have silos of different conventions, the idea of heritage, arts. We have silos of geographical, Europe, Asia. And then also how we see arts, creative industries, heritage sector, culture as itself, how it's, for example, in Finland, how do we work with the budgets? There are silos which are not actually necessary. Of course, we need boxes also. It's not to destroy everything, but we need one place where we can think about the culture as whole to really have an impact in the future. And then the third reason is to achieve all the other goals, as has been already mentioned here. This one, of course, is the one that saves the world. Then in the final spot. Where we are in Finland. So this is my AI translation. So there might be some mistakes, but cultural policy report, which was approved this autumn, mentions promotes the goal of establishing culture as a standalone SDG. And it was already approved by Finland in Mondiacult 22, and then also with the Caceres declaration. But of course, the kind of the level of doing this can vary a lot. How really we are prioritizing it in Finland, we will see it in the future. And then also another key point, which actually we already saw in Yves' presentation, about the Mondiacult 25 outcome document. Antti said that it could have been stronger, but this is how it is, and I think we can still consider it strong. So culture should be considered as an independent goal in its own right. This is how it looks, the goal in the translation, how the KULTA ry has translated the goal. So this is one goal, or actually two goals, 1 and 2. So you have the indicators and the data sources and so on. So this idea of what we are now doing with the campaign is to get this paper onto everybody's desk for half a year, maybe a year, and to note and put down how can we does it help our work? How can we relate to that? These targets, indicators, maybe it could be better, maybe we can change something, maybe there's something that is not needed. But this is actually the work that we need to do in real life with the culture sector, and then somehow collect the data. The draft goal targets, also Jordi already went through them. This is in Finnish now, but the cultural rights, peace, non-violence is the second. Then the heritage, which is with the heritage conventions regarded in UNESCO. That's the third one. And then the fourth one would be the 2005 convention from UNESCO, which is the expressions of culture and diversity, which is more about creativity. Fifth one, the professional, culture field professional target. Then mobility. Seventh, indigenous peoples. And then eighth one would be the kind of to integrate it in all activities of the society in an ecosystematical way. And then the two additional targets, A and B, which is the cultural organizations, and then the idea that it has to be implemented in all the different targets. So this in a nutshell. And we will continue with the campaign. It was supported by Nordisk Kulturfond. So we are running a project which gives us the possibility to work with it. And with that project, we have promised to have workshops here in Finland with different levels of actors and cultural players, communities, theaters, networks of different kind, and kind of explain this same thing. This is the culture goal. This it would mean, and then ask how could you use it, and then gather the data, and then of course use that data in the later steps. Other things that we are working beside the basic awareness raising, what we are doing now, and I already have explained, is that we are trying to reach also our Nordic partners. So give the national campaign as an example to other Nordic countries, and try to disseminate the ideas and the values in these Nordic settings. This is very, very important. Actually, it was seen in Mondiacult, where the countries work in a diplomatic way. It is its own world, and we have to understand that. And also, we have a big history of Nordic cooperation. So, if something is done on a Nordic level, with the other Nordic countries, we will actually become much more stronger player in the global settings. So this is why also it's very important not only to work in Finland, but in the all Nordic countries, because it is also considered as a kind of the cultural region of ours. How to join the working group? So there's email, and we will be having these kind of events and regularly, but we cannot promise when the next one will be. And it is actually how we have worked with the campaign, that it hasn't been very, very systematic, because we have had to be very flexible with kind of what to do next month or what to plan in the future. So it's kind of improv campaign in a way. You have to also adjust the activities, but we will promise to of course work with it and to really try to get these things understood and known here in Finland and also in the Nordic countries. So have to say thank you for the Prime Minister's office and also the Arts Promotion Center for making this possible. And here are some links that you can see, especially the international campaign website. It's very informative. You can spend weeks there, but also if you want to spend only minutes or hours, then I recommend the visualization that Jordi was saying about the infographics. It's really helpful if you want to understand what we are doing, what we are talking about, and also if you want to tell about these things to your colleagues. So, thank you from my part. We will continue.
Thank you, Matti, for your presentation and also your work with this project. And now, after these amazing interventions and presentations, we have the time for our expert panel. So I would like to invite our panelists, Taru, Tia, and Eve, please to join me here in front of the room. Eve is green. You must be blue, it's the government color, so you can be orange. Moi, hieno. Please, onko toiveita, miten me istutaan, onko ihan sama? Please, you sit there, and you there, and you here. Thank you so much. We have heard excellent presentations here that has really hopefully deepened everybody's understanding of the project and its importance, and now we have the pleasure of an expert panel still on this topic. I want to welcome Tia Merenheimo from Motiva, which is a government-owned company specialized in sustainable development, and you, Tia, are specialized in the cities and municipalities, their role in the sustainable development. Then we have Taru Savolainen, who is from the Prime Minister's office and also the Deputy Secretary General of the Finnish National Commission on Sustainable Development. Welcome, thank you for being here. And then we have Eve. After your presentation, you don't need any presentation here. There you are. Yeah, that spoke for itself. So thank you so much all for joining us. So I want to start off with giving a little bit of context. As Jordi here said, there is no certainty of a post-2030 agenda. I love quoting a former president of Finland, Juho Kusti Paasikivi, who is quoted saying, "All wisdom starts with acknowledging the facts." And the fact is that we live in a very difficult geopolitical situation. The fact is that international law has been challenged. The whole rule-based world order has been challenged. The UN must fight for its legitimacy and for its role as our common place to agree and solve our global disagreements and problems. So Taru, I want to ask you in the beginning, as you are in head of our sustainable development work in the National Committee, what is your take on the atmosphere which we are tackling the post-2030 agenda? I remember when the 2030 agenda was set, we were living a time of optimism. We were feeling like, now let's get rid of poverty, now we will get rid of hunger. What is the atmosphere and the context in which we are now going into this work? Are you optimist or pessimist for the post-2030 agenda?
Thank you, Silvia, and thank you very much for the opportunity to take part in this panel and for organizing this super interesting event. It's been a pleasure to listen to everybody present so far. But yes, I mean, you give a very accurate picture of kind of the global context in which we are at the moment. And to add to that, I think there's also the UN financial crisis, which is causing the entire UN system a lot of difficulties in delivering the mandates the member states have given to the kind of our common forum for solving disputes. And then Eve actually already gave some background on how we are doing with the SDGs. It's a worrying picture where only less than 20% of the SDGs are globally on track. Then there is the big bulk that is kind of somewhere in between, in stalemate or something. And then most worryingly, almost 20% of the SDGs we have actually regressed. So we are doing worse than we did in 2015. And this is kind of the background also for the international setting of like UN member states, some wanting to actually keep fighting to achieve the goals we have right now. And I think that is the most important thing for UN member states to focus on, to delivering on what we have promised to do by 2030 in order to be able to produce a better environment for discussing what might come ahead. I mean, the Pact of the Future that was adopted last year says that official negotiations would start in 2027. So we have a couple of years of time to create a better atmosphere for talking about our joint global goals for sustainability. And I think that's the most important thing, because the research world is doing a lot of scenario developing already, and the scenarios vary from something of a no agreement at all to having a transformative agenda that delivers on something. But I think a glimpse of hope, just to finalize on this one, is that there is the UN work on beyond GDP that is trying to develop methods to measure development in ways that encompasses other factors than only the economy. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in Doha at the UN Social Summit, where the UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed was opening a side event focusing on the beyond GDP work and the work of the high-level expert group. And she kind of grouped together the future of the SDGs and the post-2030 agenda to the beyond GDP work. So if we were to be able to develop good methods for measuring development, that might just help us develop a new joint international sustainable development agenda that is kind of more holistic and maybe a bit more systems-based than the SDGs are now.
Well, I think that was an encouraging end in your answer. That is the way to go, and then we come to culture being one of the tools we can achieve this beyond GDP thinking. Yves, in my years as a member of the European Parliament, I learned that culture is defined very differently in different countries. In Finland, in my opinion, we have a very narrow definition of culture, narrowing it to the arts, to exaggerate a little bit, to fine arts. How would you and how does the city of Strasbourg define culture? What do you think would be a good definition?
I'm not a specialist of culture, but I would say culture is the things that bind us, that builds cohesion, that bring people together with joy and thriving the lives of everybody. It's not culture in itself as expression of arts or literature or music, but music, literature, art, books are the soul of our lives. So the main thing is our lives. And I don't know, but you know what Jody said, we need courage. No. Sorry, Jody, I'm not. No, we just need to be aware of where we stand now. It's truly sometimes a little bit frightened that what brought us here, something happened we couldn't prevent. We have crossed 7 out of 9 planetary boundaries. Something went wrong. So we have to think on by ourselves, what can we do? What is, and we have to stick together. And culture is a way to stick together. And you know, it's not courage, because in 2018, I had the opportunity to ask Jeffrey Sachs the question: why didn't you integrate culture in the SDG framework? He said we had some difficulties between minority culture, majority culture with religion. We couldn't do it at national level. But he said, if you can do it at local level, do it. That's why we feel free. We felt free to integrate the culture in our work. So I would say it begins here. We are not deciding whatever the future SDG framework is going to be, but we are deciding what we are going to do in our lives after leaving this room, for example. So it's a way of life.
Yeah, it's the way of life, and the first how do you say, setup for the way of our life is the city in which we live in. And this brings me to you, Tia. You are specialized in cities and areas and their role in the sustainable development. How do you see the cities and the municipalities' role in this cultural work, in advancing this goal? What is the city's most important role in this work?
The role is, I think, very important in various levels. One aspect that I want to start with is to do with the global framework and the global goals. Like Yves said, that the message to you was that if you can do it on a local level, then do it. And I think the cities have had a role in setting a path and showing example for the national level and for the global level on the concrete means on which the sustainable goals can be advanced. And I think that goes for the cultural sustainability as well. On a local level or on the city level, I think you can see the role of the cities from various perspectives, depending on how you see the role of the city in general, because there are different points of view to this. For some people, the cities and municipalities are a governmental structure that has a task to provide services, to promote the well-being of their citizens, and that is the main goal, and everything else is kind of like below that, or is a means to do that. And from that point of view, I think that's not a wrong way of thinking, but from that point of view, the cultural sustainability is perhaps more a means, and then you have to be able to see how it promotes the well-being and how the municipality has a role in also providing cultural services as a means of promoting the well-being. Then another way of seeing the role of the cities is, which perhaps in this room might be more popular, I don't know, but because of the topic we are discussing here, is that the cities are a forum or a community of living local culture, making it reality, providing ways for people to come together and make the culture happen. Culture is everything we do in our everyday lives, and from that point of view, of course, then the city's role is just everything the cities do has to do with also cultural sustainability.
And the cities are also a part of our identity. Exactly. I, for example, identify very strongly to Helsinki, where my whole family has been living for generations. So it's the first starting point of citizenship and being a part of society. Yves, are we even able to achieve our cultural goal without cities and without local governments working systematically with it?
Absolutely not. Cities are responsible of two-thirds of the goals. Cannot be achieved without cities. Not only cities, but without cities we cannot achieve two-thirds of the goals. And even the cities are either the problem, because they are gathering people needing a lot of energy, and a lot of problems are emerging from the gathering of the people, but it's also an opportunity to build some solutions, to build better cities. So yes, cities are very important, and I would say goals are not meant to be achieved. We will not eradicate poverty, because poverty is always a ratio between rich people and fragile people and poor people. We have to reach the better equality. We have to build something that is a more cohesive society. So, in somehow, SDGs are an utopia. but we have to follow the utopia. We have to move on, and I would say culture is probably the best path to go to show the way for this utopia.
Taru, looking from the Prime Minister's office on this, do city politicians like myself, do we too much look at the government and expect the government to be the motor of this, all of this action? Should or could the cities have a bigger role in your view? Where do you see the line that what is the role and the responsibility of the cities and what comes from the government? How do you see on this?
Well, I strongly agree with Eve that we cannot achieve the SDGs without cities. And I like both my co-speakers, because the local level plays an instrumental role in that work. But then I want to come back to, again, one of the figures Eve actually showed about the multi-level governance of like how one should ideally be able to work for sustainability, that you have a kind of, well, hopefully you would have the international conventions and multilateral agreements that steer the global community towards sustainability. Then in our case, we would have EU regulation transformed or brought down to the national level, and there hopefully we would consistently develop legislation, but also other incentives that would take us to the right direction. And there again, I think there's really a need for very active dialogue between cities and national governments in being able to like work jointly and together to the same direction. But I think cities play, not only in Finland, but also if you look at the US at the moment, and also during the first term of President Trump, where when it came to climate action, although the US is not there, again at COP30 in Belém in Brazil, they had a huge delegation of US cities and regional states demonstrating their willingness to continue climate action, although their federal state has withdrawn from the agreement. So I think cities have an important role, and they can also be pioneers and show the way.
Tia, in Finland, the cities have a huge power in city planning and urban planning. How do you see, how could we use urban planning?
Sun mikki meni jostakin syystä pois päältä.
Aha.
Loppuhan sitä parista.
Se sai tarpeeksi.
Jos sitä loppu parista, niin voitteko sitä jakaa jotakin?
Voidaan.
Hyvä. Kiitos.
Kiitos, ei mitään, se on elämää. Niin, siis urban planning. How can we use urban planning for reaching this cultural goal? What can be done in that area to make opportunities for the cultural goal to happen and the culture to happen?
Well, the first things that come to my mind include participation. So participation is really important in urban planning, making the voices of the local people and communities heard. And I think that is one important tool also for including the cultural aspects to urban planning. What can be promoted through urban planning in terms of cultural sustainability? I guess one aspect has to do with the accessibility questions. So how do you make the cultural services or places of culture or places where you can have cultural activities as accessible as possible, and so that they can be reached by everyone in cities. That's one example. Of course, then there's also the intertwinement of cultural and other aspects of sustainability. So maybe you would also have to do some kind of evaluation of how different choices in urban planning impact all the different aspects of sustainability. So that's just some first thoughts that come to mind.
When you said that it's important for citizens to have a saying in the planning, How do we do that in practice? For example, this wonderful city outside this room has on paper amazing practices on if, for example, we change the city plan in your area, you will get a message that you are invited to tell your thoughts on that. But the citizens feel that they are not heard. They get the opportunity to say, but they feel that they are not heard. What's your recipe for that?
That is a tricky one. I guess one of the main problems is that with the communication and inviting to participate, you always reach best those who are already active and would participate anyways. And it is really difficult to reach those who don't come when you invite them. And some recipes, and that is perhaps one of the reasons why then the general atmosphere is that we weren't heard and nobody asked, because for some reason the invitation and the communication didn't reach everyone. Some recipes for that. I think cooperation with different kinds of organizations and structures that reach everyone is one key. So it can mean going to schools, or it can mean working with civil society organizations that provide people with hobbies or everyday things. I don't know if we could work more with companies, the private sector as well, because a lot of people go to work or are customers to different companies. So I think we need new innovations as well in cities and on the national level on how we could cooperate as a society to make everyone's voices heard. So it's quite a multi-level task.
What kind of examples could you give us from Strasbourg? How have you been able to include the citizens in the city planning and the decisions you showed us in your presentation on how you achieved so many of the goals in such a good way?
One of the main projects, very, very interesting project, was the natural urban park. We used the frame of natural parks, regional parks, so nature, and we adapted it into the urban planning of our cities. That means saving green spaces wherever it can be saved, and bringing the citizens to participate not only to the decision but on the making of the city, deciding where to build, to protect heritage, for example, where to build gardens, family gardens, for example, and in a participative way. I don't know if you know the city of 15 minutes city. You know, it's a principle of this natural urban park to bring people walking through their own neighborhoods, deciding what they are going to save, what they are going to change, and it's an ownership of the territory by the citizens. And I think you protect what you value, your ownership, and this is very interesting because it facilitates the change, because it was socially accepted, and it's very interesting. 5-minute cities.
In Helsinki, we have started this which we call participatory budgeting. We have a sum every year that citizens can vote. They can suggest and they can vote on what should be done, and they get a concrete use of the budget. And this, I think, is a really important tool. And by that we see that the choices are often really, really good. They are inclusive and they often are cultural choices. Please.
I just thought of an example that might be interesting for this audience. We 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, Motiva worked with Helsingin Kaupungit, so the Helsinki city planning, or with developing a future vision for the Tukkutori area, which is
Old buildings taken into new cultural use.
Yes, and there was a question of to what direction should the area be developed, and we actually worked with artists to create these participatory events, to create these immersive kind of spaces where, with the means of arts, we help people imagine different kind of maybe futuristic and wild even possible futures for the space, and then tell their views and their ideas for the area. And there I think the culture, the power of culture and power of art really showed its value, because it helped people perhaps tell their ideas more freely, but also to kind of settle. There were some kind of disagreements and conflicts about the future of the area as well. So bringing the art and the experience there, I think it created this kind of dialogue, which we've also heard about today, that the culture can be a means of solving conflicts. So that was an interesting example.
Matti was in his intervention speaking about that we need proof on why this cultural goal is important, and we need proof to show that it works. And this is in politics, you have to be able to show also the economical value of the choices made. Here next to us we have the Oodi library, which is our flagship library, our library of the future, where we were able to create a space where the library users no longer are passive users of the information, but they become active producers of content. And this has been an example which goes over party lines. This doesn't divide us anymore. Everybody thinks that this physical house that offers participation, please help me. Participation and gives spaces for the citizens to do whatever they want to do. And this, I think, is an example also about Eve, what you were talking about in your keynote speech about we have to localize, we have to look from the grassroots upwards, not as we in Finland often too common, we look from the above and give instructions downwards. So we need these proofs to show that these cultural investments work, that they are a tool, they are a measure to defend this goal of culture. So how do you, Taru, see, how can cities measure the impact of cultural initiatives on sustainable development, such as social cohesion, economic growth, and environmental stewardship, to help justify these continued investments in culture? Thank you.
Oh my.
Yes, I'm taking notes.
Not an expert on the measuring, because that's actually one of the dilemmas that we also struggle with, is like being able, I mean, Finland is a land of statistics and indicator data, but when you need to start making meaningful compilations that can actually really inform the efficiency of something that is not so easily measured in, yes, so we are trying to work with, for example, with the science panel on sustainable development, on ways to mobilize the use of measurements that are focusing also like on, well, the kind of beyond GDP thinking, but on a national level, so that we will be able to better understand the meaning of well-being and the different contributions that nature, also culture, bring to kind of the whole mix of enhancing sustainability. And one such exercise that kind of links to what Tia was saying is the Room 2050 experiment that has been conducted by the Finnish Science Panel on Sustainable Development, where they invite people to a nicely made environment. They had a room in Oodi actually for a couple of days open, where they had the very physical opportunity to walk into something that is the future, and it was developed together with an arts collective. They had like objects and future food, and that kind of the way to help people imagine a different kind of tomorrow without the limitation of sticking to what is realistic. So I think also in the ways of measuring the kind of thinking outside the box, where us civil servants aren't always the best ones to do that. So I think it helps to also cooperate with the culture professionals on trying to make your case.
Yeah, we have to have the courage to dream. If we are stuck only to the realities giving, then nothing is going to progress because we are inside a box and we only see the restrictions. Eve, do you have an example for us from Strasbourg, or what's your thoughts on this? How can, what kind of practical strategies can we use to ensure inclusive access to cultural spaces and cultural opportunities, for example, for the marginalized part of society? Because as Taru was saying here, and Tia also, that it's easier to reach those who already are active, who already are interested, who are often, it goes hand in hand with being a little bit more well off in society. What kind of strategies, partnerships could we use to ensure marginalized groups, that youth, indigenous communities, migrants, people with disabilities, to ensure their inclusive access to the cultural spaces? I realized myself it's a very difficult question.
I have no trick, but what I said, we are facing a lot of migrants in Strasbourg. It's an open door for Caucasian, East European migrants. We are trying to help them first getting a shelter, and this is the first step, just to bring people out of the street, having their own house, and after learning French, having access to for the children to the schools. This is very important. We still have 4 family in the street at the moment now, and other families struggling to finding them a shelter. It's a daily challenge. So, but after that, we have a lot of opportunities with equipment, libraries, cultural center in all neighborhoods. The proximity is very, very important, and even we decided in 2024 to have free access to all libraries for the minor people under 18 years old. It's free access for everybody. So it's a way to bring them to have this opportunity to get access to the culture, not only the books, but every event which takes place also in these libraries. And I think first, for the migrants, the first question is more mastering the language, and we have a lot of NGOs helping people to learn French and write French. Other people we have difficult. We are the city with the most the highest rate of inequalities. We have 26% of poor people in the city. 26%, and we have the help of the national level for certain neighborhoods, and one of the key elements we developed in the last years was the food strategy. With the food strategy, it was built through the SDGs and the Urban Food Policy Pact, Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. It's 200 cities around the world are part of this pact. This strategy focused on these kind of people, fragile people, by bringing them in their gardening and by helping them getting food to garden, building social cohesion. It's not culture. It's not having just access to libraries or museums. It's just being part of the society.
One more topic here to conclude our panel: inclusion. I feel that the problem why people aren't defending the UN is because they don't feel ownership to it. It feels it's far away. I don't have a say to it. How can we, and what can the cultural goal, what can its role be in building inclusion and strengthening the people feeling that they own is the SDGs are for me also, and I can also impact that. What are your thoughts on this? I would like to hear everybody.
Well, the UN and the SDGs are, all in all, it's about a vision about future, a vision about tomorrow. What kind of future do we want to build globally? And I think the cultural goal could help bring that discussion and that dreaming about the future closer to people. There were examples just now about helping people imagine a different kind of tomorrow with the help of arts, or it could be with the help of other forms of culture. So I think creating discussion, creating dialogue, helping people to dream, that's the power that culture has.
Yeah, I would want to actually go from the bottom up towards the international level, and a bit against. I agree with Silvia that we maybe do have a tradition of looking at things from the national level and thinking that we need to tell people what to do. But we, as the Finnish National Commission on Sustainable Development, work with the Sustainable Development Week, which is both European but also a national initiative that makes visible a lot of local level action for sustainability. And you have a lot of very, very local grassroots associations, actors, even coalitions of just people, like unorganized in a way, but like groups of people who have decided to do something that they do not even themselves label as sustainable development work. I mean, there's a lot of good work done at the very practical level that is not labeled as working towards the SDGs. And this is something that we need to make more visible and give it and support the discussion that, hey, we're actually doing a lot in practice, although it's not like maybe we don't think that we're doing this, but still we are. And this needs to become a bit more visible at all levels of action. And hopefully this would then kind of inspire also the UN member states to start really making the final push to achieve as much as the SDGs. I mean, I actually don't think that the SDGs are a utopia. I'm always trying to be realistic, but perhaps a bit idealistic. I don't think we will achieve all the goals by 2030, but I think we do need a similar level of ambition when we hopefully set the next agenda, and firmly believe that that is something that we can achieve.
Eve, please.
Sorry, what was the question?
It was about inclusion, how the cultural goal could be used in giving people the ownership of the SDGs, giving them ownership of the work that the UN is doing, so that it doesn't seem so far and it doesn't affect my reality today. How could the cultural goal work for that benefit?
You know, in France, only 13% of people know what SDGs
Exactly.
are. In your country or in Denmark, I don't know, it's 93% of people know. Even though SDGs are in the program of the schools, of the 15-year-old people. I don't know if I don't have the answer if there is a need to better understand the SDG by themselves. It's more important to understand that in each action we take, there is an impact on our territory, but elsewhere also. And this is the added value of SDGs that shows our interdependency between the northern country, western country, and the southern country. And as the Ubuntu culture said, we won't win alone. We only win together. And this is very important to keep in mind, that our lives are interdependent, and we have to build solidarity between ourselves and the others.
That was an excellent sentence to conclude this with. But Jordi, you have your hand raised. Please, Jordi, intervene.
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes, I see me. I see part of my screen behind you. Two tiny things, because I'm having a great time hearing you. And one question on the one comment on the relation between local, national, international. We don't have the alignment right now. We have awesome work by many cities and local governments. We have several national governments that are connecting the local with the international, but what we lack is the international frame, to be clear. There are operational international frames in many areas, not in the culture domain, and the culture goal would make that difference. And the second is on the courage thing. Perhaps we have different understandings, but you were extremely courageous in Strasbourg when you decided, yes, let's go in this direction. You could, I mean, this obvious to you. If our budget is 20% devoted to culture, then we have to be coherent. It didn't happen in many other countries. It didn't happen in many other cities. And this is because a group of people said, yes, we cannot understand ourselves unless we explain the picture, the whole picture. I think that these challenges today should happen today. This discussion needs to happen today at national level. It is not compulsory to explain in the high-level political forum what Finland, what South Africa, what Canada, what Indonesia are doing in the cultural domain. But these countries cannot understand themselves, cannot explain what they are, who they are, when they want to be in the future, unless the cultural dimension is explicitly mentioned and duly explained. This capacity to make us dream, which is very much needed at in the global conversation on development, is also brought by reporting on culture. So to be explicit, I invite the office of the Prime Minister to go in this direction. Thank you.
Well, Taru will deliver that to the Prime Minister, and then that's sorted. Do you want to still comment on Jordi? Yes, please, Taru.
Note taken. I will take the message there, but being very honest about this, I don't think the Finnish government is ready to take an official stand on how we want to achieve or advance on the post-2030 negotiations. But a lot of messages coming in. Thank you.
Well, that is an encouragement to all the NGOs and all the civil society actors that now is the time to raise our voices, be active in this, try to build our goals towards the next elections, and to force, in a positive and warm way, to force our leadership to take a stand and try to gently steer them in the right direction, which is called democracy and called public discussion, and that we still in Finland have very much in place and alive. Thank you so much, Tia, Taru and Eve. Thank you, Jordi, and thank you for taking the time and giving your valuable input and really strengthening our work and our belief in that the cultural goal is needed and it's possible. Thank you. To conclude this wonderful couple of hours together, I want to give the floor to Matti, who is really a primus motor for this whole work in Finland. Just give us your thoughts on today's discussion and what you've heard so far.
Just in the end, want to say thank you for all of you who have been here for quite a long time, 2.5 hours. Quite heavy stuff, so thank you for your participation here and online, and of course thank you for the great panel and great Silvia. Very amazing discussions. I think this was exactly what we were hoping. I don't know if we had even the courage to hope this much, but I think we achieved a lot. Very nice discussion, and just maybe to somehow wrap up, I think the participatory methods, which also was mentioned here in the panel many times, I think this is something very, very important. Also, the definition of culture, I think this is very, very important, because I think the question was that how do, in the cities, if the people don't feel engaged, they don't want to participate. Maybe it's also because the definition of culture is different from the one who's giving it from top down, and one who's actually, maybe they want to pick mushrooms and they don't understand that this is also culture. So it actually comes to the definition of culture in many cases. And again, going to the idea that this SDG for culture might give us like a common basis for building up the definitions of culture. So this is something I thought was very, very intriguing and inspiring for myself. But thank you so much for this, and wish you a good afternoon.
Thank you.